I didn't have the tools or the understanding to know or to understand how to love people unconditionally. How to go about this service, because as much as I had unconditional love for the people and the souls I would see around me, which which led to so many burn moments where I would literally just get burnt and burnt and burnt. It's because I had to realize the unconditional love and the love, the real love, like the faith and the belief that I had in every single other person, like that I would see and meet. I had to have in myself first. There's no point in loving someone else unconditionally if you can't do that to yourself, for yourself. Because what are you doing? You know? You don't love yourself, but you can love someone else. Keep in mind, they still have an ego. They're still in their 3D. The minute you unconditionally love someone else and hate yourself, they're going to see that imbalance. And human beings have ego. And human beings have imperfections. And a lot of the time as empaths, we unconditionally love people who are lost souls, who do have the quote-unquote potential. Empaths fall in love with works in progress, and that's not even romantically, that's just the people you choose to believe in and surround yourself with. Is because you want to build them, but you forget to build yourself. And what happens if someone hasn't been built yet? They still have an ego complex that is in full function, and normally the bigger ratio of what's going on with them. And they 100% will vibrate at a frequency low enough for things to latch onto them. And guess what? That's how you get attacked. So you'll love and get burnt, and love and get burnt, and love and get burnt. And the thing is, we think our scapegoat is friendships and relationships. But that's not our scapegoat. That's just us evading the truth. See, I see all these people who are like, I'll never get into a relationship because I can't trust people, like blah, blah, blah. But like, you're trying to have the same relationships or the same love or the same commitment with friends. So your boy, like your homie, they're the ones who get your like unwavering love and trust, right? And that person and that group of people that you see that come into your life with all this potential and like shining futures, if they just did things a certain way, if they just believed in themselves, if they just applied it all. They get your love. But because it's a friendship, it's less scary than the idea of a relationship, because you're more conscious of the fact that you're expected to be vulnerable. Friendships come with no expectation, so they only go up from there. Relationships apparently come with an expectation, so they can only go down from there. And the funny thing about human beings is we don't want to get hurt. It's easier to say a friend left us or friend hurt us. Friendship breakups, yes, they are the hardest, but they're easier to explain and for other people to digest, and maybe for you to digest. But relationships, now you gotta tell the whole world why it didn't happen. Now there's so many, like, it's funny, like the stigma, but like the thing is, people need to understand that, you're doing it already. You may as well do it with someone who's gonna love you romantically, platonically, and in a familiar way too. You're just starving and depriving yourself and hurting yourself because deep down, you don't think you deserve it. So you're subconsciously punishing yourself for the fact that you don't, or that you believe you don't. So now we can take this a step further. What exactly are we searching for? The unhealthy amount of casual physical relationships, codependency on homies, on your girls, on your boys. Like chasing the high, chasing the thrill, chasing the drug. It's because we're trying to find a feeling. And the funny thing is that we want an easy way to the feeling, but the only way to get there is through vulnerability. Why? Because what we need is intimate love. Keyword on intimate, what we need is intimacy. That's what comes with deep love. Intimacy. When it doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't have to be romantic all the time. It doesn't even have to be platonic, but it's intimate. And what is the price for intimacy? Giving the person that ability to hurt you. Newsflash, you can't get intimacy with your homie. So as much as we're trying to replace that relationship, we're trying to replace those intimate connections with so many different things, be it drugs, be it casual sex, be it just unhealthy attachments and needs to give ourselves to people. It's because we need to be intimate. And through being intimate, or through the road to intimacy, we have to be vulnerable. And the thing is, some people mistake vulnerability for weakness, but vulnerability is courage. Why is vulnerability courage? Because it's not easy. And now we're in a place where how do we discern who to be vulnerable for? How do we discern who gets our intimacy? That first heartbreak has left people so scarred they don't ever want to go through it again, so they build walls up. But a fact of life is the price of love, the price of intimacy, the price of happiness is the pain and the sacrifice it takes to get there. Sometimes you know when you know, and that's where the law of attraction comes in. If you always think that the next person you're going to meet is going to hurt you, they're going to hurt you. If you're always thinking the next person you're going to meet is going to take advantage and cheat and you can't trust them, then that's the truth. I come across so many people who's like, trust can't exist. I don't even trust myself and this, that, whatever. How do you expect to find someone trustworthy or that you can trust in if you can't trust yourself? And if every single day you're speaking that affirmation. I lived my entire life nullifying the fact that true love doesn't exist because deep down I knew it does. Because if you believe in energy, in source, and in God, you're being a hypocrite if you're saying that love doesn't exist. Because what is God in essence? What is source in essence? It's love. However, instant gratification has taken over our lives to the point where we want to get from A to B overnight and we don't want to put in the work to get there. But let me tell you, when you put in the work into a relationship, when you put in the work into understanding, figuring out someone and sacrificing your vices and your instant pleasures and things like that for that person, it's so much more beautiful at the other side. After all those arguments, after all those fights, after all those hiccups, because you knew the person was worth fighting for. You knew the person was worth sacrificing for. You knew the person was worth going through everything for, because you saw in them what you couldn't see in anyone else. Yes, we don't date potential. We don't date someone's higher self. However, we know the soul and we know the resilience of that person. And it's up to you how you fight. Like, put your boundaries up. You don't have to put up with things that aren't aligned with you. You don't have to put up with BS, but you don't have to stop believing in someone. Bob Marley once said, everyone's going to hurt you. You just have to find the people worth going through that pain for. And I agree. So let's get out of this warped idea of love. And maybe, instead of chasing sex, maybe you should be chasing intimacy.